Hey guys, it's Paradise, and with the new features coming in Monster Hunter Wilds, it's going to be a bit of a game changer and pushes the franchise in a brand new but exciting direction. So in today's video, we wanted to highlight some of the best and biggest changes that are coming in Monster Hunter Wilds, and look at how Capcom is improving the game from Monster Hunter World and Monster Hunter Rise. So drop a like and comment below if you enjoy the video, and subscribe for more Monster Hunter coming soon, and we'll start it off with one of the biggest changes to the core gameplay loop with the introduction of alphas. In previous Monster Hunter games, we did have monsters that had bigger and badder versions of themselves being the same species, with things like Apex monsters. However, now in Wilds, they're layering this system into the actual gameplay, as alphas will be the dominant monster in a pack or a herd. We have already seen examples of this in the trailer with an alpha Doshiguma, which was much bigger and more aggressive. So with the monster's behavior being different, we as the player will need to plan and figure out how to hunt and what the best course of action will be to take them on. From the recent interviews, the developers gave examples of scenarios where players would lead the alpha monster away from the herd, as this will change the behavior of it, making it less aggressive, which in turn would make the hunt easier for us as the player and the hunter. We really want to see how this system actually impacts the gameplay, and we do have a few questions. For example, can there be endgame monsters that can also be alphas, as that would be pretty cool. It would also be cool if alphas had different drop chances, or dropped even more or separate items from the base version of their monsters. Perhaps because the alphas will be harder to take down and hunt, there could be whole separate armor sets or weapons for them. And next is something that blew us away when we first learnt about it, and it's the general improvements to the ecosystem, which we think people might be sleeping on a bit. Capcom have explained some of the features and changes to the ecosystem from previous games like World, and that they're going to dramatically change the way that we play. For example, we know there will be a cascading effect that can cause there to be less monsters of a specific type available to hunt, or monsters that appear in places that you would not normally expect. The Monster Hunter team have explained a scenario whereby a monster could get aggressive and attack another species of monster, which could then cause them to leave their natural locale and move to another area. Monsters do, however, need to eat, so having a monster move to another area creates a knock-on effect where they now must go in search of food within this new area, impacting the ecosystem of a separate zone in ways you might not expect. Even us as hunters can actually hunt too many of a certain type of monster that would cause there to be less of them or none of them in a particular area in the game's world. Hopefully this ends up being as cool as it sounds, and it does sound pretty incredible, but don't worry, if you do want to go on a hunt, there will still be preset quests where monsters will be spawned for you even if you've wiped them out of existence in your world. But do you guys like the sound of this system? It is interesting and definitely an iteration on how they've done it in previous games. Now, whether you're new to Monster Hunter or a veteran, something that doesn't get old is putting in your combos and pulling off your favorite moves with your favorite weapon. In Monster Hunter Wilds, we know that some of the weapons will be getting a massive rework, as the devs have highlighted this in various different interviews. It seems so far that the ranged weapons like the bowguns have had the most significant changes, and the devs actually mentioned this. So it'll be interesting to see what exactly has changed, but we know that each weapon will have at least one new move, but the team have hinted that there is more in store. We have mentioned it before, but the hunting horn is also getting reverted back to its world style of gameplay for Monster Hunter Rise. Personally, we didn't mind the new style of gameplay for the hunting horn in Rise too much, but we know many people absolutely hated it. So if you're a hunting horn main, you can tell us below which do you prefer, the world version or the more easy Rise version. If you are a longsword or a dual blade player though, while your weapons haven't changed, it's good to know that there will be returning moves, especially to the dual blades, with it getting a demon mode that focuses on evasion. Meanwhile, the longsword has a new and more stationary way to build your spirit level, with the Helmbreaker also making a return, but this time they've made it even more flashy. We know this stuff from Japanese players that got to see the behind closed doors previews, as they actually experienced different weapons from the Western media, and those players seemed very impressed by the changes they saw. Next, we know the world, ecosystem, and map are a massive focus for the dev team for Monster Hunter Wilds. They're pushing the franchise in a whole new direction, but making the world itself seamless. The wording around seamless is pretty confusing, and we don't know exactly what the extent of the changes to the traditional map system will be, but it has been confirmed that the game will feature a number of seamless interconnected maps. Each of these maps will be what we commonly refer to as locales, but this time there won't be loading screens between them. This basically makes the game function like an open world game, as you will be able to walk between areas without having to load anything, but Capcom doesn't want to call it an open world game because you won't have access to everything all of the time, and there will be restrictions, and the map will expand as you progress through the game. So imagine an open world zone where certain sections of it are restricted until you progress far enough in the game and they open up, and there will be seamless travel between most of these locales as they're mostly interconnected. Something we aren't completely sold on at the moment is the impact of a more seamless world. Obviously, we haven't played it, so the flow could be great, but something that feels weird is that you don't need to go to the quest board anymore, as you're able to select quests directly from the menu. I know this isn't a massive change, but for me personally, even though it was just extra steps, it felt very Monster Hunter-y and like part of its identity to go up to the quest board and post the hunt. I mean, think about it, is it really going to be the same if you can't complain at your friends for not picking up the quest? Another thing related to this that seems to be an awesome addition though, is that there will be villages that will have their own ecosystems, which we can encounter in these seamless locales. The example they gave us is of a village where the inhabitants farm creatures for cheese and other items. We love this idea and we can't wait to see more of them around the map and discover the world itself. We also know that the locales themselves will be much bigger than some of the biggest areas that we've experienced in previous games. It's said that the starting area of Wilds is 2 to 3 times the size of the Wildspire Waste from Monster Hunter World. The area will be a lot more vertical and have more depth, meaning there should be a lot more exploration to be had. Something we love and have already seen is that the locales will have different biomes, as in the trailer we got to see the sweeping grasslands area, a rocky caves area, and even a massive desert area. This combined with the weather system that allows these zones to have 2 different states, and it has been confirmed that each locale will have 2 different states, means there is going to be a lot to experience and explore. But do note, it hasn't been confirmed what these different weather states will be for all of the different locales yet. But with a bigger expanded world with a lot more depth, Capcom have also added more detail to the map, as they've actually updated it to show more information and depth on the map itself. People in the previews basically said it looks like a 3D map with a ton of useful information. I'm really hoping there's some cool new and wacky locales coming, as I absolutely loved the Coral Highlands and the Rotten Vale from Monster Hunter World. The Rotten Vale theme alone was a 10 out of 10 banger, so hopefully they have some cool stuff like that in store for us in Wilds. And speaking of some banger locales, what is your favorite locale ever in any Monster Hunter game? Now, if you played Iceborne, you'll be familiar with the tenderizing system, and Rise even had the curio points in the endgame. Well, in Monster Hunter Wilds, they've combined this into one seamless system where dealing damage to monsters repeatedly in a certain spot will create wounds that can then be damaged further to have a topple effect or to use a special move on, and we've kind of seen this in the trailer with this stab and drag move. We're really interested to see how this one will play out, as it looks like it could be very impactful for getting a lot more damage and different openings during your hunt. We can see the speedrunners absolutely quaking about this system, so it will be good to know how the speedrunners are feeling about this idea. And next is something that will have a massive impact on our actual hunting and the sense of exploration, which is the fact that certain monsters will only appear during certain conditions. We know that everyone's favorite new monster, Thor Magala, will only appear when the Sandtide Storm is active. This is something that we also love the idea of, and it will make hunting specific monsters feel a bit more rare and dangerous, adding to that feel that Monster Hunter Wilds is going for with a living world filled with various ecosystems. Another massive change is that the seamlessness doesn't extend to the world itself but also the story, as the game will have a more focused narrative-driven story where both our Palico and main character, our Hunter, will be voiced. We know that the cutscene transitions between the gameplay and the quests will be more seamless, also giving us a smoother experience. For those wondering about co-op though, and how it will work with a more cinematic focus and story, well, we know that players will need to experience some cutscenes solo, but this time the game will do a better job at keeping parties together even after cutscenes are finished, and it will start matchmaking during the cutscene if you want to play with randoms. So we are super excited for Monster Hunter Wilds, and the next stop will be at Gamescom, where it has been confirmed that this will be the next showing for Wilds. So let us know if there's any features, monsters, or things that you're hoping to see in this new game. Drop a like and comment if you enjoyed the video, and subscribe for more Monster Hunter coming your way very, very soon.